Hey folks, welcome to my channel number 10. So there we have the problem on our screen. Differentiate the following: y equals square root of x plus square root of x plus square root of x. So we have a function which has three square roots, right? So so we don't have to really worry about that as long as we make the right substitution. And this function, you will have to be very careful when you're solving these problems, because as you go through solving these problems, right, it's very important that you don't skip interim steps, right? Because these kind of problems are highly error prone, right? Your approach might be perfectly right, but then you might end up with the wrong answer because you missed out a root in between or you missed out an x in between. So the best way to solve these problems is to ensure you move step by step without ignoring any step, right? So let's jump into what we will do in step one as substitution. So I'm going to make that substitution that will reduce y to a very simple expression, right? That's how we have solved all the problems in my earlier videos. So the best possible substitution here is u equals x plus square root of x plus root x, right? While that simplifies y, that is not going to simplify u. I know that our du by dx is going to be not very simple and straightforward, but we will come to that a little later. So I know what is my y now. My y becomes equal to square root of u, right? And it's a very basic function, and we're quite familiar with the derivative of square root function from our earlier exercises. So I'm going to directly apply it out here. All that I'm doing is using the formula d by dx of x to the power n equals nx to the power n minus 1, right? So let's do that. So my dy by du is nothing but 1 by 2 root u, right? So I'm going to write that as it is, 1 by 2 root u. I'm going to highlight this in green, or let me use yellow. I'm going to highlight this in, say, yellow. And then let's come to our u expression, right? So my u, let me write it down because seems to be a long expression that cannot be simplified in one single step. My u equals x plus square root of x plus root x means what is my du by dx? So let's apply the sum rule of differentiation. My du by dx is nothing but d by dx of x, right? So let's write that d by dx of x, which is this. And then I have my dy dx of this expression, which is again requires us to solve it using the method of substitution and then apply chain rule, right? I'll put a link. See, remember, folks, we have already solved this particular problem, right, in our earlier video. And what I'll do is I will put a link to solving square root of x plus root x, right? So I'm talking about the one let's highlighted in brackets. So I'm talking about d by dx of square root of x plus root x, right? So let me highlight it and say turquoise. So I'm gonna put a link to the video in the description that solves for d by dx of square root of x plus root x, right? So please note that. And I'm gonna move to the next step, and directly apply the answer from our earlier solution what we have for square root of x plus root x, right? So my du by dx becomes d by dx of x, which is 1, and then d by dx of square root of x plus root x, right? And my d by dx of square root of x plus root x is what I'll pick up from the earlier problem that we solved. I'm going to paste the answer directly out here, and I request all of you to take a look at that video to see how I've solved it. It's again by the method of substitution and chain rule, right? The answer for d by dx of square root of x plus root x is nothing but 1 plus 2 root x, the whole divided by 4 root x into square root of x plus root x, right? So I'm going to do a cross multiplication out here. This is what I have with respect to du by dx, right? So now let me highlight this in green. Now take a look at this expression. Seems very complex, right? I mean, this is why I told you that we'll have to be very careful when solving these problems, right? So I have my du by dx and I have my dy by du. So I go down to the next step and then I apply my chain rule towards finding out dy by dx. My dy by dx is nothing but dy by du into du by dx, right? I have my dy by du, which is the expression highlighted in yellow. So we will pick it up as it is. And then I have my du by dx, which is the expression which is highlighted in green. So we will pick it up as it is, but with utmost care, right? So we have 1 by 2 root u, and then you recall that our final answer has to be in terms of x, right? So my 1 by 2 root u, which is nothing but dy by du, I represent it in terms of x, right? So what do I get? So that's the first part, and then I go to the second part, and I have this long expression here. So to avoid confusion, I'll pull out my bracket and then I'll just copy paste it here, right? Now I have an expression which is more or less my final answer, and I'm just taking a glance at it if I can do any further cancellation or any simplification. Looks like other than multiplying the 2 and the 4 in the denominator, we cannot do much, right? So we will have to write it as it is, and I go down to the next step, which is my final step in the answer, and I write my dy by dx. My dy by dx is 1 by 8, 1 by 8 into, and let me write down this in the order of complexity, right? So my numerator does not change. So let me copy the numerator as it is. And then my denominator, we already have an 8. And then we have a root x. We have three expressions, folks, at the bottom. And then we have a square root of x plus root x. That's my next expression. So I'm going to write that square root of x plus root x. And then I have a square root of x plus square root of x plus root x, right? Which is nothing but my original expression, right? So I'm just going to copy it as it is. Paste it over here, right? So here I have my final answer, folks, and I'm going to move my final answer to a different color, which is our usual pink. So I'm not going to read this out for you. I'll just give a few seconds for us to see if we have represented our final answer in the simplest possible format, right? So the answer is yes. I'm going to move this 8 here. So that's all we have. Let me change the color to pink. I hope you found this video exciting. Please do subscribe to my channel and support. Thank you.